Good morning and welcome to Algebra Do Now 29.1 video key. And I'm going to organize, I'm going to go ahead and start doing these. So we got x plus 3 times x minus 3. So of course the x times x gets us x squared. The 3 times negative 3 gets us negative 9. And then we've got x times negative 3, which will be negative 3x. And I've got 3 times x, which will be positive 3x. And you might notice we got opposites here in the middle. And those opposites in the middle are going to cancel out to make a nice little 0x, which we aren't going to care about. And we're just going to end up with x squared minus 9. So middle term vanishes. That's one thing you might notice. And we have a difference of squares going on. So basically, the first term is squared, so x is squared, and then I've got minus the second term, which will be 3 squared. So x squared, this is just x squared minus 3 squared. So I get a literal difference of squares. All right, let's check out the next one. So you might notice I've got an x plus 10 and an x minus 10. So basically I'm multiplying the sum and the difference between x and 10. So I'm going to end up with, you might predict you're going to end up with x squared minus 100 or x squared minus 10 squared, and you'd be right. But let's go through it and prove it. So we got x squared. We're going to have a minus 100 because 10 times negative 10 will be negative 100. Then we're going to get a negative 10x and a positive 10x. And that's going to cancel each other out. So that's just going to be a plus 0x in the middle. And so we don't need to write it. So we just cancel that 0x out, and we end up with just x squared minus 100. It is, so again, the middle term vanishes. Difference of squares. And it is the same as the first term squared minus the last term squared. So 10 squared. So literal difference of squares. All right. Now, we're going to do a slightly different thing. Now I'm squaring x plus 1. X plus 1 times x plus 1. So we're going to end up with x squared at the beginning. At the end, you'll have 1 times 1. I'll just say 1 squared for right now, and I'll sort all that out. Then I'm going to have a plus 1x and a plus 1x. And we can start simplifying all of that stuff. And 1x plus 1x, I could, if I wanted to, since I've got 2 of those, I could do this. 2 1x. 1 squared is just going to be 1. I'll deal with that in a minute. And so I end up with x squared plus 2x plus 1. So this is a basic structure. So there's a symmetry to it. But basically, I start with the, let's just call it, I'm going to give it the name. This is known as a perfect square special case. And this is very important for what we'll be doing going forward over the next several years in your math career. It's a perfect square, and it's really important to notice what it is. So if I said a plus b, and I squared that, that's a plus b times a plus b. So I end up with a squared, of course, at the beginning. I'll end up with b squared at the end. In the middle, I'll have a plus ab and a plus ab. Those are just the same thing, so I may as well call it a plus 2ab. And so it's exactly what I've got here. If my first, we call this the a and this the b, I ended up with the a squared. I have an AB and an AB, and I have a B squared. And since AB and AB are the same thing, I can call them 2AB, and I can just simplify it like this. So let's check out the next one. Well, the next one is going to have a very similar process. We're going to have x squared we'll have -1 squared, and then we're going to have plus -1. I'm just going to write all that out, times x plus -1. My cursor out of the way, times x. All of that is there. Okay, let me start simplifying that. So we could just put this -1 times x together and make that a 2 times -1x because it's the same thing. And then this here. And then that just simplifies out to a -2x. Why I put a parentheses there. At any rate, and -1 squared is just 1. That's going to be +1. And so now instead of a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, now I've got an a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, so this is also a perfect square. Okay, and that's going to be just, since we got a minus b is the generalized structure of this, which is going to be a minus b times a minus b. That's going to equal a squared minus ab minus ab plus, since negative b times negative b will be positive b squared. We've got all of that, and that can simplify into, scroll down a little bit, a squared minus, since there's two of them, 2ab plus b squared. All right, so you'll get some practice with this. So you'll want to learn to recognize this. This is going to be popping up all over the place for a good long while, and you're going to need to be able to recognize this structure and work with it and build with it. I hope this was helpful, but this is a perfect square structure, and you're going to end up with the first term squared, the last term squared, so a -1 squared, an x squared, and then you're going to have a doubling of this product, -1 times x, because you're just doing it twice. -1 times x, next times -1. So the middle term is twice one of those products. So you can simplify your process of your multiplication.